Hi there again, it's Board Game Brody here with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table. Like this one, Stonespine Architects. It's a role-player tale here by Thunderworks Games. So you want to craft your own dungeon? Well, you came to the right place. These secrets have been passed down from master to apprentice for eons. And now it's your turn to demonstrate your skills. Your task is to carve your own perilous dungeon into the base of the Stonespine Mountains. So here is the game. You want to gain the most reputation by building the most dangerous dungeon over the planned 4 years. You will draft cards, placing one at a time in a row by row, and you will use gold to buy additional elements to make your dungeon even more better. So to begin, each player starts with a blueprint card. Here you have some plans that you want to follow to gain more reputation if you do. If you manage to place the 8 demands in the correct places matching your card, then you will gain 20 reputation at the end of the game. And if you complete the number of demands listed, you will gain, different matching reputations for the numbers that you do. So you'll still gain points for the amount of work that you do. You will start with your own dungeon frame, which limits your dungeon from being 4 cards wide, and there will be 4 cards long. You'll place your entrance matching your blueprint card, and each player will start with a hand of 5 chamber cards to begin the game. The tracking board is placed out in front of the players, placing their markers on the gold track and also on the priority track. There is a goal card placed out, so also this gives players a way to gain additional reputation throughout the game. In this example, it's having the most slimes in your dungeon, but it also could be having the most pairs of identical traps, having the most gnolls, having the fewest amount of treasure, or anything else in between. On the side, you will have challenge cards based on the numbers of players in the game. Over here is the market cards, and a number is placed out with random tokens being placed on them, matching the size according to the number of players playing in the game as well. So players will be simultaneously looking at their hand of cards and selecting one of them to place in their dungeon. You will pass the hand of cards when you're done clockwise for the first and the third round, and counterclockwise in the second and fourth round after you choose a card. Also, the rounds are referred to as years, so they're interchangeable. With the new hand of cards, you will then again choose another card to add to your dungeon, and you will do this until 4 cards have been added to your dungeon in total for that year. And there will be 1 card to discard. When placing cards, you will need to obey some placement rules. First, during the year, you will need to place all cards for that round or that year in a row, but they can be placed in any order. When placing cards for years 2 and 4, you will place cards to cover the bottom portions of the above cards. Once a card is placed, it cannot be moved or removed. Doors are not required to match, but you might want to try to match them for reasons with scoring. After you placed 4 cards for that round, you will then count up your gold listed on the bottom of your current 4 cards, and then add in 1 gold for each treasure chest present in your dungeon, and that could be from previous rounds as well. And you'll move your gold marker up that many spaces. All players' priority markers are then moved down directly below where they're at on the priority tracker. Then starting with the player with the most gold, that player will start taking turns to either buy tokens or to pass and collect a challenge card. And when buying tokens, you will choose 1 set of market tokens on a single market card, either the top or the bottom, and buy those. You will reduce your gold marker by the cost of that and immediately place those tokens on any combination of chambers in your dungeon. Each chamber can hold up to 4 total elements, which includes monsters, traps, reputation stars, and treasure chests. Tokens cannot be placed covering up an element and can't be placed in a chamber that has 4 elements already there. Secret passage tokens don't need to cover up another element, are not placed on those 4 central areas. They are placed on the edge of the chamber to create a pathway between the 2 chambers, even if there's no door present. Then again, you will then see who has the most gold and that player will then take their turn either buying tokens or passing. Now, when a player passes, because most likely they no longer can afford any of the tokens out there, then they will move their gold marker back to the 0 space, as gold is lost between each round, and they will select a challenge card and place it near their dungeon, and then move their priority marker to the leftmost unoccupied space on the priority track. This will be the new priority list, and now they have a challenge card to hopefully get them more reputation. You will keep doing this until all players have then passed. The cleanup phase then occurs, and that entails discarding the remaining market tokens and cards. New market cards come out with the random tokens being placed on those. Unclaimed challenge cards are then discarded, and then in years 1 and 2, you will reveal new cards for the number of players plus 1. But in year 3, you do not reveal any new challenge cards, as players don't select them in year 4. And players are dealt out a new hand of 5 cards to begin the next round. Now, after 4 rounds, all players place their remaining doorway markers at the exit according to their blueprint card, and final scoring is then performed. A person's final priority represents the player with the most gold on that last round, and the player in the first position on this track will gain 9 reputation. The next player will gain 6, and the third will gain 3. Then players compare their dungeons with the goal card, and whoever has the most, or at least according to its requirement, they gain 15 reputation. Second place gains 9 reputation, and third place gains 5. And you need at least one of the listed type if it states the most to score any of the points. And ties are determined by the priority track. Players evaluate their challenge cards. They should have 3 of these, and each player gains reputation based on the scoring conditions on each of those. Within the dungeon, you might have positive or negative reputation stars, and you will gain those and add that to your score. And lastly, the blueprint card. You will score your reputation if you meet the requirements shown on it. The reputation and elements that you have completed is shown on the bottom of that card. Lastly, dungeon paths are determined to gain reputation. You gain 1 reputation point for each chamber with a path connected to the entrance, and then 1 reputation point for each chamber with a path connected to the exit. If you have some that connect to both, then those will score 2 reputation points each. And the player with the most reputation has achieved the title of Master Architect, and they win the game. And well, that's how you play Stonespine Architect by Thunderworks Games. You can play the game up to 5 players, or even you can play it in solo mode if that's your jam. That's included in the rule book. This is a dungeon planning, card drafting game of completing goals and making the most dangerous dungeon full of monsters and treasures and designing it off of your blueprint card, really. The blueprint gives you an idea of what you should focus on in the game, but also a way to gain reputation. You can focus on these elements row by row, as this is how you'll be playing the game. So if your blueprint has a treasure chest and a cave type card shown on the top, then you will need to try to draft those cards. Probably your first 1 or 2 cards to match those areas, or else you might not have the opportunity to complete them. As you will then continue doing this as you play, and there are times where you will need an element that is not there maybe. You'll want to snag one from the market that round, or even later rounds, to place them in certain spots. Some of the more specific elements can be harder to get, and you might want to place, a card in that location with room that you can place another element to match that requirement in that location. With all these choices, remember to try to, connect the paths. Again, secret passageways can be gained, but you can, gain points for connecting the entrance and the exit. And if all are connected, that's, 2 reputation points for each chamber if they're all connected to each other. Then you'll be gaining challenge cards to gain more points, random stars in some chambers, the goal card for the game, everyone's going to be competing for, things like that. It's really a design with a lot of focus on how you draft your cards. If you do well, you can get cards where you need them to be, and then gain money to spend at the market to, make your dungeon even better, to complete different goals. I like how you will sometimes get what you get and then have to change the dungeon up a little bit by buying those elements to add to them. This will always be, towards your goals or your objectives and gaining more points in that way. Overall, the game is a pretty straightforward drafting game, one that the kids have really enjoyed, and this level of game is, just right for them because, there are several things to think about, and they will be learning with, time how to overlap as many goals or objectives or combining them the best way that they can. So this game, was great for them to learn how to do that stuff. The components are excellent. There's nice thick cardboard tokens, even a nice insert for the game as well. Then you have wooden markers and entrance and exits that are wooden as well. The design of how the cards are placed and then, placing the new ones, covering up the money each round, that works great. The art is done good. It matches the other role player games. Really, you get, what you see in this game, which is a nice family weight game that plays up to 5, gives, players decisions on designing their own dungeon, which is fun to do. Again, this is Brody with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table. Like this one, Stonespine Architects. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We are working hard to bring to you videos like this one, so if these games here are ones that you want to get to your own table.